Here is it 2 o'clock? It is 2 o'clock. All right. I'm going to call the meeting to order. It is 2 o'clock for our Budget and Finance Committee meeting. Thank you for joining the board meeting, the Budget and Finance Committee meeting. We've all heard this before, but please remember to mute your devices unless called upon. Joanne, please read the special notice.
Yes. On March 4, 2020, Governor Newsom proclaimed a state of emergency in California as a result of the threat of COVID-19. Public gatherings are to be limited. Further, on March 18, 2020, Governor Newsom temporarily suspended the Brown Act requirements pertaining to telephonic conferencing of local government meetings and the requirement to have at least one physical location available to the public for purposes of attending the meeting. As such, RTA has opted to conduct the March 3, 2021 Budget and Finance Committee meeting via teleconference.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Self-introduction. For today's meeting, we will take roll call. Will the clerk please take roll call?
Yes. Jeremy Smith?
Here.
Ray Santos?
Here.
Linda Molina?
Here.
Art Welch?
Here.
Linda Krupa?
Here.
Timothy J. Sheridan?
Here.
Ted Hoffman?
Here.
Bridget Moore?
Here.
Michelle DiArmond?
Here.
Chair, you have a quorum. Members, please remember to remute your device.
Thank you, Joanne. Would you please take attendance of RTA staff?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Larry Rubio?
Here.
Charlie Ramirez?
Here.
Tom Franklin?
Here.
Laura Camacho? Rick Majors?
Here.
Kristen Warsinski? Here. Natalie Zaragoza? Here. Rick Kazarowski?
Here.
Jim Neepkins?
Here.
Yesenia Felix? Here. Thank you, Chair.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Next is item number 3, public comments. No agenda items. Joanne, please read the direction for public comments.
Members of the public may address the board regarding any item within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. However, no action may be taken on off-agenda items unless authorized by law. Comments shall be limited to matters not listed on the agenda. Members of the public may comment on any matter listed on the agenda at the time that the board considers that matter. Each person's presentation is limited to a maximum of 3 minutes. And Chair Smith, I have not received any requests to speak in writing.
Thank you. Is there anyone on the line that would like to make comments on items listed not on the agenda? Going once, going twice. Hearing none. The public comment portion for items not listed on the agenda is now closed. Hearing no more public comments, portion for items not listed on the agenda is now closed. Perfect. Okay. Next is item number 4, approval of minutes for the February 3rd, 2021 Budget and Finance Committee meeting. Does anyone have any comments? No comments. Do I have a motion to approve?
District 5 approves.
Norco second.
Perfect. I think I had Norco in there, so that's Ted.
Yes.
I got Art and Ted. Thank you so much. We got the second. Are there any no's? Any abstention? All right, the motion passed. Moving right along to item number 5, cash flow projections. Charlie, take it away.
Thank you, Chair Smith. Rick, can you unblock my video? No. There it goes. All right, there I am. Thank you, Chair Smith. Thank you, Chair Smith, members of the committee. My name is Charlie Ramirez, and I am the agency's Chief Financial Officer. You have before you on page 8 the agency's actual cash position through mid-February, followed by a projection of weekly cash activity through April of this year. This is a period that covers the first 10 months of fiscal year 2021. I am happy to report that there are no anticipated cash flow issues expected during this reporting period. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Charlie. Are there any questions from the committee members? Any questions from the public? All right, this is a receive and file. Moving on to item number 6. This is quarterly capital status. Charlie, I believe it's yours again.
Yes, thank you again, Chair Smith. As you all know, the committee and board meetings are filled with individual procurements, project updates, and requests for board authorizations. Many of these are for capital or large, long-standing projects. Because it can be easy to get lost in the shuffle of all that we do here together at RTA, we stop and take a look at some of our capital accomplishments each quarter and a look ahead at what is next in the coming months. In terms of accomplishments, as it relates to board authorizations and approvals, you may remember in December, you authorized a contract award to SOMAS for A&E management services for the Vine Street Mobility Hub, a hub that is critical to our service delivery plan for the future. In December, you approved the agency's zero emission bus rollout plan for submission to the California Air Resources Board. This is not just critical for compliance with CARB's ICT mandate, but to RTA's business model as well for the years to come. And I believe we did just recently hear back that that plan was approved by CARB, so that's good news. You also, in January, authorized the contract award to provide steel piston upgrades for 55 buses. If you recall, the steel piston upgrade is an economical way to extend the life of the engine. In February, you authorized a contract award to rebuild 114 bus transmissions. Again, an economical approach to extending the use of the vehicle. Accomplishments in terms of vehicle, as mentioned, we did submit the ZEB rollout plan to CARB. We took delivery of, accepted, and placed into service the final contractor operated fixed route vehicle. That was the last one of 33 received. Completed the installation of 6 electric vehicle charging stations. That's 4 in Riverside, 2 in Hemet, to accommodate the 12 new vehicles that we have. We completed the installation of driver barriers on all COFR vehicles, including the trolleys. This continues safety first, not just for RTA employees, but for Empire, our contract fixed route provider as well. Accomplishment in terms of the transit and operations facilities. We did commence the A&E services for Vine Street, so that project is now underway. Commenced installation of 14 new bus shelters. Installation of LED lights in the Riverside upper parking lot. This required not only new light bulbs, but new fixtures. And they do provide better visibility and safety and are energy efficient. Due to some water damage, we commenced and completed some concrete repairs in the Riverside yard. And we purchased 2 replacement copiers for the administrative offices. IT accomplishments. Completed the Intelligent Transportation System project. This is a major project in regards to bus communication systems. Completed the speed tracking system for non-revenue vehicles. This helps staff monitor the speeds of non-revenue vehicles and ensures safety. Continued progress on the scheduling software development. This was a project to move scheduling from being managed by a third party to in-house. I believe this project is going well, and we are slated for implementation later this year. Significant progress on the network and blade server upgrade. The blade server is a modular design. Among other things, it improves space, cooling, and energy efficiency. As we look ahead in the March-May timeframe, we will seek board authorization and approval to award a contract for the Oracle upgrade project. This will bring our backbone system into a more current instance of the software. We will award a contract for the refurbishment of 16 bus shelters. This is an ongoing project each year to keep some identified bus shelters looking fresh. We will award a contract for a new mobile ticketing application. If you remember, we got into this business a couple of years ago, but as with anything, the new technology is rapidly moving, so we're looking to improve upon that. In terms of vehicle, we will take delivery, accept, and place into service 3 stops and zones trucks. We will deploy the 12 battery electric vehicle support cars once we have the training in place for the maintenance staff. And we will continue the engine overhaul and transmission rebuild projects. Outlook for facilities. We will commence a design phase for the emergency power upgrades project. This will improve load management and backup power design at both divisions. We will commence the refurbishment of those 16 bus shelters. We will carry on with the Vine Street Mobility A&E work. We're looking to replace the narrow aisle electric forklift in Riverside. That's a forklift used to get in and out of tight spaces in our warehouse. And we will complete the installation of the 14 bus shelters. As we look to IT, we will complete that network and blade server upgrade. And we will issue requests for proposals in the following: a replacement of the firewall web proxy, replacement of the NVR for the 40-foot bus fleet, and replacement of the wireless local area network. These last three items are aimed at taking advantage of newer technology and updated safety enhancements. To wrap things up, there's a great deal of activity and accomplishment on capital activities, which is in addition to the day-to-day activities of the operations. The board is to be commended for their direction to staff on carrying out these activities. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Charlie. Item number 6, are there any questions from committee members in regards to quarterly capital statuses? No questions. Are there any questions from the public? All
It's
right,
Keith
moving right
White.
along.
I have a question.
Perfect. Go ahead, Keith.
My concern is the cameras. Are you going to be able to put cameras in the back of the buses also, and also on the side of buses? Because when a lot of people are in the back of the buses, they tend to eat on the bus, they tend to drink on the bus, they tend to hide from the drivers, or drivers can't seem to wash them or anything. Is there any more safety we can do on that issue? Because when I'm on those buses, they're spoiling drinks, they're bringing cups on the buses. We need to have them stop bringing drinks on the buses, because the floor's getting sticky and these poor drivers that haven't exchanged these buses, and I feel sorry for the drivers. My concern is there any way we can install some more cameras inside these buses so we can try to keep on these passengers? Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. This is Charlie Ramirez again, the Chief Financial Officer. I appreciate your concerns. We do have a good amount of cameras on the bus, so I'm not sure that this particular issue would be a matter of cameras. The issue with cameras sometimes is that it doesn't allow you to fix things in real time. It allows you to take a look back at what occurred. The only thing I can recommend is, our passengers looking out for one another. I know that there have been times when I've been on the bus and I asked the fellow passenger, to be cautious or to put the drink away or something like that. I'm not sure that we can address that at this moment with cameras, but it's certainly something that we can look into, increase security on the buses.
Thank you.
Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Keith, for your question. This item is received and filed. Moving along to item number 7, which is the authorization to award agreement number 20-062 to Allied Security Services to provide security services for transit properties. Natalie, this one's yours.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, Chair Smith and members of the committee. My name is Natalie Zaragoza, and I'm the agency's Chief Procurement and Logistics Officer. The item before you today is a request for authorization to award agreement number 20-062 to Allied Security Services to provide security services for the agency's transit properties. The agency has been contracting with security firms for the past 10 years to safeguard both its property at transit facilities and to ensure the safety of its employees and customers at these locations. Last year, when the worldwide COVID-19 pandemic shut down most businesses, there was an immediate need for portable restroom facilities for the agency's bus operators. Previously, they had been allowed access into these now closed businesses. It was also quickly realized that security services were required for these portable facilities to prevent theft, vandalism, and other unauthorized use. Something relatively new that has been implemented over the last few years and then more extensively again this past year is a new position to address the agency's concerns over the growing number of assaults on bus operators and issues stemming from the homeless population throughout the agency's service area. This position under the contract is called a Mobile Transit Officer, has been a welcome addition as they can provide 24/7, 365 days a year coverage at the location serviced under the agreement. Their duties include performing patrols as well as checks for unsafe conditions and hazards at the various locations. An example of one benefit is being able to use these officers, or this one officer rather, to assist with clearing out homeless encampments that arise at stops so that our stops and zone staff can get into the area to clean it. This position continues to be utilized more and more to address unruly passenger calls and generally responding to other incidents as needed. This use has added significant cost to the contract overall, because not only does it require a more experienced individual, but the travel costs and the 24/7 availability quickly add up. The third year of the agency's current securities contract is due to expire June 30 of 2021. Due to the amendments from this past year, all the increased services, the contract value has grown by almost over more 25%, just over the last 11 months from the originally awarded value of the contract. To ensure the pricing that the agency is paying is both competitive in nature and is the best that the market has to offer, staff needed to re-procure these services to incorporate the growth in security requirements, not only for the COVID-related security for the portable restroom, but the continued and increased use of the mobile transit officer, as well as an addition total of 4 24-hour posts due to increased vandalism, break-ins, and other related criminal activities. With all of these issues in mind, staff revised the scope of work and made sure that pricing would be itemized so that if and when portable restrooms were no longer needed, canceling the security services for those restrooms would be a straightforward issue. As a final note, with this new contract, security services associated with these portable restrooms are incorporated as a no guaranteed usage line item. Again, at some point, there will be an internal decision to either discontinue the use of these portable restrooms, but at this time, it is very unclear when this will be. Even if businesses open back up and get back to normal, there is a very real possibility that they may not want to open up their facilities to our operators. On November 16, staff issued RFP number 20-062. On January 8 of this year, 9 vendors submitted proposals, and their names are on page 11 of today's agenda. The evaluation committee representing staff from purchasing, finance, and the risk departments evaluated the proposals in accordance with the criteria of the RFP. At the conclusion of the technical review, the 5 highest ranked firms were then invited for virtual interviews. After the interviews, 3 firms really stood out from the other 2, and as a result, those 2 firms, Contact Security and DSI Security, were dropped from further consideration. The 3 remaining vendors were then asked to identify an offers, and the results of those submittals on page 12 of today's agenda. After a thorough review of all submittals, pricing, and interview results, it was the evaluation committee's determination that Allied Security Services was the best value for the agency. As always with these services, staff is also requesting a 5% contingency to be used over the potential 5-year contract term for unanticipated Transportation Security Administration, or TSA, directives, and any other unanticipated fluctuations in the number of guards needed on a temporary basis at any of the agency's facilities. As always, the use of this contingency would be subject to a future change order or contract amendment and only when needed. Sufficient funding will be included in the agency's FY22 operating budget. Funding for future years for these services beyond FY22 will be included in future fiscal year budget requests. As I stated earlier, the costs under this new agreement are considerable. For your information, the main cost drivers are COVID-related security, the addition of 4 new 24-hour posts that have been added to this new contract, which are mall restroom facilities and Riverside Division 1, and then the mobile transit officer. His use has increased a bit. All of these items add up to approximately $4.8 million of the amount that needs to be awarded today. Therefore, the action before you today is to approve and recommend this item to the full board of directors for their consideration of the award of an agreement to Allied Security Services, an amount of $9,657,425.93, with a 5% contingency of $482,871.30 for a total project budget of $10,140,297.23. Chair, that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Natalie. Are there any questions from committee members?
Mr. Chairman, this is Ted Hoffman. I do have a couple of questions.
Of course, Ted, go ahead.
The current security firm we're using now, how long have they been under contract?
Director Hoffman, the current contract is the term will be ending in June of this year, will be the end of the base period. They've been there for 3 years now.
Okay.
I'm sorry, 2 years.
2 years.
With the base.
So they have a record of calls for services, is that correct?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Do they have a record of calls for services? A record of all the incidents that have occurred at all the locations?
I imagine that they do, yes.
Okay, so, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because I would like to see this is almost $10.5 million, is that we should be able to see the increase in calls for services from the security based upon the increase in, of course, COVID's going to throw it off a little bit, but over a 2 or 3 year period, they should have an idea of how active actually each of these locations are. Is that not true?
I do not manage that project, but I imagine that is the case. Director Majors, are you on the line?
Yes, Natalie, be happy to jump in and answer that question for you if you'd like.
Thank you.
Director Hoffman, thank you for the question. That's a very good question. I'd like to point out, first of all, though, as Natalie's presentation indicated, the cost drivers for security aren't necessarily due to the activity itself in so much as it's due to the expansion to new locations. But to answer your question directly, we do actually have records for those calls for service, and that would apply directly to the 24-hour mobile patrol officer that we utilize throughout our service territory. And again, that 24-hour, 7-day-a-week security officer costs us the same amount of money, regardless of whether we respond to 5 calls or 10 calls. So we'd be happy to provide that information, but it really doesn't impact the cost drivers of the increases in the contract, if that's what you're looking for.
No, I'm not. That's not what I mean. I just want to see that we're getting a sufficient amount. We, as a city, we contract with the Sheriff's Department, and they've gone to a new program on their contract as use versus just always having people out there. Now, this situation is a little different in that we have facilities that need protection and that need security officers there just as a preventive measure. I'm looking at trying to determine the total amount as we go through and as things change and the dynamics change. The one thing that we don't want to be is caught short. And the more calls for services, or if we look at the type of crimes or type of services that these officers are responding to, we may have to adjust this down the road. I just don't want to be caught short by saying, this was based upon a 2-year program, but as we go through, that was my intention, asking the question.
Your point is well taken, and I think that's something that we will continue to consider and have considered in the structure of the contract that we currently have. When you talk about contracting for use, that's a very good point. Mobile patrol services can be purchased that way rather than purchased on an hourly basis, and we would definitely continue to consider looking at that as an option in order to be able to help reduce our costs. So thank you for that.
My second part of that, if I can, is do we operate with the local jurisdictions and work with their homeless liaison teams that are in the area?
Yes, we absolutely do. We take part in some of the operations that go out with the partnerships between law enforcement and social services in order to be able to try to bring a holistic approach to addressing the homeless problem, which is a problem at many of our bus stop shelters throughout our service territory. We do participate with them on a regular basis in those operations.
Okay, I just don't want to just say, okay, we'll kick them out and they're back the next night. So as long as we're participating, that's the important thing.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Jeremy, I have a question.
Of course, Linda.
And Ted already asked the one part about cooperation with local PD and local security companies. But just for clarification, this contract is for additional security at facilities that we are not in cooperation with RCTC and Metrolink, or does it include all of the facilities?
So these are just Riverside Transit Agency facilities, and procurement did a great job separating out the contract into basically two distinct parts. One is the COVID-related security that we're having to increase on a temporary basis, and the other part of the contract, which was priced separately, are our regular facility contract security guard services that we anticipate to continue into the future, regardless of COVID.
Thank you. Thank you, Rick, and thank you, Natalie. Good presentation. Thanks, Chair.
Of course. Any other questions from committee members? Thanks, Ted, for the conversation. I want to say one thing on this item. Allied Security Services, we've used them before in Canyon Lake. They got some good technology. They've been able to utilize where the calls take place, the incidents. They document it very well. They train their officers with a high standard, and they've been successful before. My question is, what is Orange County using for their security? What company are they using, and what San Bernardino County using for security purposes as well? Do we know?
We know that Allied Universal Security was a contractor in San Bernardino County for Omnitrans. I'm not sure about OCTA, to be honest with you. I don't know which company they use, but you raise a very good point about the technology that they implement. Their HASTIS program was one of the things that attracted us to them in this procurement. They're incorporating artificial intelligence into their software programs that their security officers use that are going to help us track incidents and react more quickly to things that are going on within our service territory than we otherwise might be able to. So it's something we're really looking forward to.
Yeah, when I got an interview with Allied and I looked at their technology base, it was in real time. So they had officers with iPads or using iPhones or any other tablets they were using and documented the incidents. And dispatch was able to identify those incidents right then and there, or pull a full chart of what took place in the last week or month to really identify issues and concerns. So I know that they're a great company. I've seen them, in different, capacities. So with that, if there's no more questions from committee members, do we have any questions from the public on item number 7? Hearing no questions from the public, do I have a motion to approve this item?
Norco moves to approve.
Helen Mesa seconds.
Thank you, Ted. Thank you, Linda, for the first and the second. Do I have any no's? Are there any abstentions? Awesome. This motion passed, and that's item number 7 for those of you that are following along. Number 8, authorization to enter into an agreement with City of Riverside for the Canyon Crest Bus Stop Improvement Project. Natalie, this one's yours again.
Yes, indeed. Thank you again, Chair. This item is a request for authorization to enter into an agreement with the City of Riverside for the agency's Canyon Crest Bus Stop Improvement Project. There's a bit of history going back a few years here, as this project was originally initiated back in FY15. Back then, the agency identified a need for improvements to the Canyon Crest on-street stops because of increasing bus routes to the area and an increase in bus ridership. Then in April of 2015, discussions started between RTA and UCR, exploring the feasibility of developing a mobility hub on their campus. Those discussions talked about incorporating the much-needed Canyon Crest improvements into that larger project. A feasibility study was completed, and a conceptual plan with a project budget of $4.9 million was created and then presented to the Board of Directors at their February 2016 meeting. The mobility hub was to be built on 2.5 acres of land provided by UCR at the gateway to the campus as part of a larger campus redevelopment project. The MOU the agency signed with UCR made it clear the RTA was committing $4.9 million to the project, while UCR was responsible for any project costs over this amount. UCR put the project out to bid in early 2019, and then in April, the construction bids were submitted. Unfortunately, the low bid was $4.6 million over the engineer's estimate and over the The discussions quickly ensued between RTA and UCR whether scaling back the design to decrease construction costs, whether proceeding with the project was feasible, and whether UCR would pick up the additional costs were all thoroughly considered. Ultimately, these discussions didn't really lead anywhere. During the same period, the City of Riverside approached RTA to see whether we would partner with them on a TCC AHSC grant application. As a quick aside, and for your information, those acronyms are TCC stands for Transformative Climate Communities, and it's a state funding program. AHSC stands for Affordable Housing and Sustainable Communities program, and it is also a state funding program. In any event, with the Mobility Hub project seemingly stalled out, RTA immediately thought it might be a likely candidate for the city's request and could solve the funding issues that were under discussion at the time. The Mobility Hub was a large transit project, and these types of grant programs, the TCC and AHSC programs, tend to require a showing of large greenhouse gas reduction numbers in order to give the grant application a competitive edge. RTA had the city reach out to UCR to see if they would agree to include the Mobility Hub project in that grant application. When UCR then elected not to partner with the city came back to RTA to ask whether we had a replacement project for that grant application. RTA was able to suggest the Vine Street Mobility Hub project, as the project itself could use additional funding and was large enough to be able to show greenhouse gas reductions that would make the grant application competitive. Thus, the Vine Street project was included in the city's grant application rather than the UCR Mobility Hub project, and that was a big part of why the grant funding of over $31 million was awarded to the city of Riverside. By October of 2019, it was clear that UCR was not moving forward with the project, either by providing the additional funds as required, by scaling down the project to decrease the cost, or by partnering with the city on their grant application. In December of 2019, UCR reimbursed RTA $442,246 of its TUMP funds that had been spent on planning and design for the Mobility Hub project. It was now very clear that the project would not be realized, and thus staff started the process of reallocating the funds back to the originally envisioned Canyon Crest Bus Stop Improvement Project. Accordingly, the Canyon Crest project was included in the FY21 SRTP that was then authorized at the May 2020 Board of Directors meeting. The Canyon Crest Bus Stop Improvement Project will improve the current on-street stops with the construction of 6 bus bays to have route designations to aid passengers in boarding, and they will also include shelters, benches, trash cans, and bus pads. All of this will be located within the city right-of-way along Canyon Crest. The city also plans to provide and fully fund a bi-directional bicycle track across the street to safely move bicyclists out of bus traffic. The city will be the lead agency, with RTA providing the pass-through of FTA Section 5339 funds for the project costs. City responsibilities will include the design and finalization of the plans with RTA's approval, and then with the city will issue the bid and award the construction contract. RTA responsibilities will include taking ownership of those transit amenities and then maintaining them. The project schedule has a start of construction beginning in June of this year, with completion of the bus stop improvements within approximately 4 months or by September of this same year. The independent cost estimate for this project, as prepared by the city's engineer, is $1,150,000. As already stated, the agency has reprogrammed funds originally allocated to the UCR Mobility Hub project to this project. And the funding mix of FTA Section 5339 monies and STA funds is shown on page 16 of today's agenda. Therefore, the action for you today is to approve and recommend this item to the full board of directors for their consideration as follows. Authorize staff to enter into an agreement with the city of Riverside for the Canyon Crest Bus Stop Improvement Project and not to exceed amount of $1,150,000. Chair, that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Natalie. Any questions from committee members? No questions. Any questions from the public? All right. Do I have a motion to approve? This is item number 8.
I'll move.
Wildemar moves for seconds.
All right. So I got Beaumont. I got Ray with the motion, and then I got Wildemar Bridget with the second. Do I have any no's? Any abstentions? All right, this motion passed. Next is item number 9, board member comments. I'm kind of going to go through the list and see if anyone has anything to say. I first just want to say, Linda, thank you so much for jumping on the call last week. I think it inspired so many of us. Your testimony is always inspiring this board, but for me personally, I was just in your city on Sunday, and my wife and I were talking about you and just all that you've done, and we got the warm and fuzzies. And I know that my family was praying for you, my dad included, and I just want to say thank you for sharing your testimony with us. It meant a lot. I know that several board members text me and said, "Wow, that Linda, what a trooper." So just thank you for that. I appreciate it. But I'm going to start it off with Linda. Do you have anything you would like to say?
Just thank you again to everybody for the prayers and warm wishes and everything. And I've heard from a number of people who have said they have had put off their mammograms and their screenings and their exams. And now they're calling their doctors and they're pushing to get their testing done. And it's so important. So thank you, Jeremy, and thank you, everybody. Really appreciate it.
I love it. Prayers are still with you, Linda. Ray, you got anything for us?
I really, appreciate that, Linda. Krupa, you look good, and our prayers still continues to your fully recovery and a good health. You take care. Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you, Ray. I love it. Oh, absolutely. Linda, how are we doing in Calamasa?
Fine, thank you. Thank you for asking. I would just like to comment on the very impressive capital project status report. We're doing good things as always. And just wanted to note that March 1st marked Women's Month. So I'd like to applaud Mr. Rubio's women leadership there at RTA, including our chair, Linda Krupa. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. Timothy and Lake Elsinore, got anything for us?
No, not this this month, Jeremy. Thank you, though.
No, absolutely. Thank you for joining us today. Ted, you're next, my friend. You got anything going on in Norco?
Not in Norco, but I noticed that the Board of Supervisors, and this is probably going to affect Larry and his team. Hopefully, with the COVID and the tier, if we keep going the way we are, we can get some of our county back into red, out of purple and into red. And I noticed some of the schools' sports programs are opening up, so that might hopefully affect some of our bus ridership in the area. And so that might be a good thing. And I would expect Larry to probably address that by next month or even the next general meeting, how that's going to affect them if they're ready.
Absolutely. Good update, Ted. Bridget, you got anything for us?
Just wish everyone stayed healthy. Thank you.
Absolutely. Michelle?
I just wanted, I sure am. I just wanted to take a quick moment to introduce a member of our staff. She's on as a member of the public, so she's not able to turn on her camera and microphone, but Andrea Mars is a member of Supervisor Washington's team, and we've been getting her involved in RTA work of late, and she's been to a Transportation Now meeting in Hemet San Jacinto, and you may see her from time to time in some of these meetings. So I just wanted to introduce her to the team, and I've already told her what a great group this is, so that she can expect lots of really professional work and great people to learn from.
Yes, thank you to RTA for giving me the privileges to speak and say hello. I'm Andrea, as Michelle said, the newest board assistant to Supervisor Washington.
Yay, welcome, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle, appreciate it. Art, you're up, my friend.
Okay, two things. Number one, I want to say thank you to Larry and his staff again for such complete presentations on projects upcoming and the current status of RTA. It's always a pleasure to listen to such a professional group. Secondly, I want to say to Linda, I'm still whistling for you.
I love it. I love it. All right. That's it for board member comments. Moving right along. I think it is Larry. It is your turn. Announcements. Do you have anything for us?
Mr. Chairman, no, not this week. I just, Director Hoffman, we're with you. We hope those students, when they get back to school, just fill up those buses and we were able to get them where they need to go. We could sure use the ridership. So, ask them to ride the bus. In fact, ask them to ride twice wherever they're going and on the way back, because we want to be the ones to get them there. That concludes my announcements, Mr. Chairman.
Love it. Thank you, Larry. All right, folks, the next meeting of the Board and Budget and Finance Committee is scheduled for Wednesday, April 7th, 2021 at 2 p.m. I'm going to call the meeting adjourned at 2:42. Thank you, everyone.
Hey,
Thank you,
everybody.
everyone.
Thank
Hey.
you, Jeremy. Good
Good
job.
meeting,
Bye,
Chair.
Jeremy.
Michelle,
Thank you,